My name is Bill Bay. I'm a partner at Thompson Coburn here in St. Louis.
I'm Karl DeMarce, and I am the Associate Circuit Judge for Scotland County in the First Judicial Circuit.
My name is Rob Larsen, and I am a United States Magistrate Judge for Western Missouri.
Initially, I began just to get involved because people said you ought to do something, and I just put my toe in the water. But once you put your toe in the water, you find out that there's lots of very interesting people that are making a real difference in their community. And I think I found that first of all in St. Louis, then later on at the Missouri Bar, and then later on at the ABA. And one thing I think when you step back and look at our Supreme Court, what they've done in the last few years. I mean, I had really the privilege of co-chairing the newly constituted Commission on Women, then co-chairing the task force on the future of the profession, and now the Commission on Racial and Ethnic Fairness. I think it tells you that we got a court that's very engaged, that wants to make a difference in our state, wants to make a difference in how we interact with really serious issues and serious problems in our judicial system and our profession. They're all very challenging issues. The future was particularly challenging, but the one I'm doing now with Racial and Ethnic Fairness with two great co-chairs, Judge Hardwick and Mike Middleton, with a great group of 50, is really challenging because you're trying to come up with to do two things. Number one, look at practices, examine what's here. And number two, to make sure that we realign those practices and change those practices so that they guarantee equal access and participation for all racial and ethnic minorities. And that's a really difficult job to come up with things that apply to the whole state. The great thing about it is the group is very engaged. We've made some initial recommendations on changing the CLE rules to do implicit bias training for every aspect of the court system. And I think you're going to see more and more there, and I think that's something that will really have an impact in our state year after year as we begin to not only measure but make changes.
Having been asked by my colleagues to serve as president of the Missouri Association of Probate and Associate Circuit Judges was a tremendous honor. I'd been involved with the association for several years before that in various capacities, and I've continued to be involved after my year serving as president of the association. But to have the respect of your colleagues that they would want you to take on that role and represent them in the broader judiciary, that meant an awful lot. And that has led, I think, to other committee assignments and responsibilities in the years since, as I became better known outside my own local area of the state. But rather than, specific things, I think the broader thing is that I enjoy the day-to-day consistency of just being there, providing the service, being ready as a court, as an institution, to address whatever it comes to us that day. Courts are for the most part reactive and passive institutions. We don't go out and choose most of what we're going to do. We do what is brought to us by others, on both the criminal and the civil side. But to me, the greater satisfaction is in doing the best that we can do to provide a good, solid, respectful, courteous, professional court that cares about its people every day. To me, that's bigger than individual events and happenings within a career.
In 1991, when I got on the bench, one of the first things that happened was I went to a judicial conference for the 8th Circuit. And the subject of a large part of that discussion was where are the next generation of federal trial lawyers going to come from. The Inn of Court program, which was what it was originally called, now it's called the Ross T. Roberts Trial Academy, was an effort to kind of give new lawyers exposure to all courts, federal and state, and to give them kind of the basic skills in terms of trial practice. So that program, when I first became involved in it, was basically some CLE programs, and there would be some instructions. And it was a really good program, but I became concerned because it really wasn't grounded so much in terms of what the law allows you to do in voir dire, or what the law requires you to do in opening statement. And I kind of took over the training aspect of the trial academy, so that they got a really good sound foundation in terms of what they needed to know about trial work, whether it's state or federal. And then from there, then they go in and they do a demonstration in front of what we call masters, who are other volunteers. And they judge them and give them some hints about tactical procedures. It's been a very well-received program. We've had to put a cap on the number of people that we can take because it's become so popular. One thing I want to point out about it is it's fully supported and funded in large extent by the federal district court judges.
All the projects you do can never be about you or who's on the particular committee, because then it dies when the committee's finished with its work. And part of the issue is getting the input, sometimes of the profession, sometimes of the public. I mean, the Commission on Racial and Ethnic Fairness, we've had a number of hearings, but there's never a hearing that I walk out of that I haven't learned something new, that I didn't know about. Somebody brings an issue that I think we need to add that to our agenda. We need to deal with that issue. And I think that makes it then, makes it clear that the public and our profession has got to all be engaged to make changes and to be part of it.
This is a job where no 2 days are ever the same. Fiction writers cannot make up the things that walk through a court's door day after day. So as long as you keep coming back each day, willing to understand that you can't base what you're going to do today on what happened yesterday, you build from those experiences of the past and learn from them, but you have to treat each new case as something that is truly new and as something that you have to learn about before you can do anything with it. That providing a justice system where people can have confidence that when they go to court, the court is going to listen to their side of the case and to all other sides of the case before making up its mind. That is what we're striving for, and I enjoy being part of it.
Don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to approach other lawyers. Don't be afraid to approach judges. I never had a federal judge in my entire career in the Department of Justice tell me, Rob, I really don't want to talk to you. Whenever I've gone to them and asked them for critique or asked them for advice, they were always available. And I think that's kind of symptomatic of the bar. I think if you ask them. So ask those folks for some help, and you'd be surprised how many people will come forward and help you.